The date is July 10th, 1998. On this day, Lethal Weapon 4, Madeline, Small Soldiers, and Darren Aronofsky's Pi hit the big screen.
Wait, what? That is a killer lineup of movies right there.
Wow.
The Catholic Diocese of Dallas, Texas agreed to pay $23.4 million to 9 former altar boys for reasons.
Oh, no.
Oh.
And in a totally unrelated coincidence, Matt Lauer was on the cover of TV Guide.
Oh, baby.
No.
Making all the kids go, oh boy, I hope there's an old Jewish comedian who's related to this somehow. Welcome
Foreshadowing.
Wow.
to Season 9, Episode 21 of Family Matters.
Well, it was promising there with that lineup of movies, but then it was all downhill from there.
I loved Small Soldiers. I loved the
Small
PlayStation
Soldiers is
game.
amazing. No, I just meant all of the sexual misconduct and assault that you just.
Was that the problem?
Yes, very much so.
I will say one of the big problems that I had, because I was trying to look up the TV Guide vintage description of this episode, and TV Guide does not archive their actual interiors for, I would say, probably reasonable reasons of space and time. However, they do archive all of their covers, which I guess they believe are the most iconic and collectible aspect of their offering. And the Matt Lauer cover, in addition to some things about Matt Lauer, says, "Farewell, Urkel. Why will missed Family Matters?"
We won't.
And also shouts out Cameron Manheim from The Practice, calling her feisty, because fat is not a word you can use on the front of a magazine. And you know that's what they're trying to say. They're like, "Oh, look at her. She's a different one, isn't she? For TV?"
Man, I wanted one of those, or not just one of, but all of the Small Soldiers toys in real life.
Oh, hell yeah.
Really did move.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they had the only reason to have the Small Soldiers PlayStation game was that it had a rip-off GoldenEye mode where you could hunt each other in various like playscapes from the game / movie, which was super fun.
And I believe we all watched Pi together, did we not?
We watched Pi together, and I still, every once in a while, I'll see a black or a white fish in real life and just whisper to myself, the fish have the answers. Trust the fish. They know the way.
To this day, I'm always just like, follow the fish.
I'm glad you guys remember that, because I have no recollection.
It's fine.
You were tripping balls probably, which is how you're supposed to watch that movie, I'm sure.
Right.
So I'm tripping balls right now.
Okay, well, great. By the way, classic TV guides, if we were trying to buy some to flip through them and find descriptions or anything for these episodes, not cheap. And I'm real pissed about it. eBay wants like an average of $10 per TV guide from this era.
Wow.
And according to rarityguide.com, the most valuable TV guide that they have listed is the February-March 1985 Michael Jackson cover issue, which is $15. And the cheapest one is like $3. So if you're collecting TV guides, filling in your holes in your collection, this is not a cheap thing to do.
But it's just a strange, to me, as soon as the week is over, the guide is useless.
That is correct. You know? You are absolutely correct. They tried to retain relevance by doing here's a hot interview with David Duchovny about X-Files. But beyond that, there's really no reason to pick it up. Welcome to episode 214, Lost in Space Part 1.
Thanks for sticking with us.
We made it 214 episodes. We'll see how this all turns out.
I did think it would be funny if we numbered our episodes backwards too. So
I think we will.
200. Oh, good.
I think we should. I remember when a comic series did that, all the comics stores were like, you don't understand how fucked up this makes our system. Like the way this ruins the way that we're keeping track of comics is unspeakable. And to do that to the Apple Podcast app, I think is our mission.
Yeah, it will break it.
Welcome once again to all of our hosts, my man in Hollywood, John McDaniel.
What up?
And
How are we?
Fine.
How are we doing today?
It's fine. No, your time is done. And our other man in Hollywood.
I had a lot more I wanted to say about that.
No, that's actually it for the episode. I'm sorry, but thank you for your contributions and good night.
All right. If that's how we want to play this.
I would like to take bets now and say that
Predictions.
John is not logging off, and we will hear from him again, but we'll find out.
Predictions.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Across Hollywood from him is our other man in the LA's, David Kinney.
Oh, baby boy.
That says it all, doesn't it? And here in Austin, Texas, I'm Alex Diamond. We are watching Family Matters, but in a way that I think is non-traditional. Would you say? Is that fair to categorize how we're doing it?
No normal person would watch a TV show this way.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. Not how I'd put it, but a way.
We are all fucked in the head. We're watching Family Matters backwards. This is the second episode that we're watching, which of course means it's a part one of a two-parter. If you're confused, just wait until we say other things.
That's right.
Just when I think I'm starting to get a handle of this podcast, it gets even more confusing.
Yeah, and this is the third ever episode, and only the second one where we've watched a TV show.
Doing great.
I have a bad feeling about our sanity going forward.
David, did you watch this one as many times as you watched last week's? Are you still committed to the 3 watch downs?
I took both of your advice. I only watched it twice.
Okay, making progress.
Eventually, I won't watch them at all.
You beat me
Great.
to it. You're just gonna know.
You're moving in the right direction.
You're gonna know this show so well that it's just gonna flow through you, and you won't need.
There was not to get ahead of myself. There was one line I literally said out loud before a character said it out loud. So
The
doing great.
first time
Already?
you watched it?
The first time I watched it,
Oh,
Wow.
no.
I got sitcom brain.
Oh, that is not good. But it does mean that you, like this episode, start with an actual intro screen and a theme song, kind of.
Thank God.
Yeah, it overall this episode was definitely more grounded, dare I say, more
Yes,
on
literally
Earth.
and figuratively. Yeah.
The more I think about it, the more I think this one's weirder than the last one.
What?
In some ways, and I think we'll get to all of them. And I think
All right.
part of the reason that we think that is because we watched the sequel first.
That's
And
fair.
that doesn't help you in the brain department. But the intro shot did while we didn't get an opening theme song that explains the whole TV show like many other TV shows of this era, we did get a shot that the TV show is somewhere with water. So we have that confirmed as far as location, and I think we actually get it fully spoiled for us later on in the episode.
Oh, bummer.
We jump right in to Urkel and Laura Lee planning the wedding, and I'm already so upset because the first thing that Laura Lee says is that they have to keep their wedding guest list below 250 people.
Oh.
How are they affording this? This is the second episode in the row where I was like, who is the money train in this show?
Well, it's also, we're in a pandemic right now, so I think it's just a little, it's just not the smartest, most careful, considerate thing to do,
Sure, yeah. Has everyone else had the experience that I've had recently where you're remembering a relatively recent memory and you were hanging out with friends or coworkers or whatever, and you had like a weird disconnect where you were like, why weren't we wearing masks?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's upsetting that's...
It's very, I don't know, disorienting to even just watch, I don't know, replays of like live sports with massive crowds in the stands. And you're like, there was a time where we were just all allowed to just hang out like this.
Yeah. Concerts seem like a terrible idea. Why do we do that?
Exactly. Oh yeah. It just seems like, what were we thinking?
And my immediate reaction to seeing them is like, why aren't they wearing like I get mad like instantaneously.
Yeah.
Luckily, there's something about watching this show that there's so much of a disconnect. It's 20 years ago that does seem like the before times. It
Yeah.
doesn't seem like it's
Oh,
impossible.
this is not present day.
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
but speaking of present day, relatively recently, I've planned a wedding. David, you've planned one even more recently than I have. Surely your guest list was way below 250 people.
As soon as you said 250, I was like, I think that's how many we had.
Did you really?
I think so.
Show off.
Ours was 150, and that felt pretty big. And we were definitely hacking away at some relatives that were falling on the lower tiers of,
Yeah. But
you know.
our venue was free and you paid for yours, so I'm sure like we could like move around things, so it wasn't as crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, if trimming that guest list down is what got us Alex those cake balls, then I'm all for that decision because those were amazing.
And again, John, I am sorry that I had to disinvite you from the wedding.
You know, just a little more heads up would have been nice. I was already halfway there, so
he lands in a cross country flight.
yeah. So, you know, just a little more heads up. Well, I'd say a little more heads up next time, but hopefully there won't be a next time. So
I do wish you the best. I wasn't there
Yes.
to say it on the day, but
If anyone objects to this marriage, and John is screaming in like New Mexico.
we need a redo.
So of course this leads to, I say of course like I should have known this. This is, I guess, obviously a thing because the way that they're playing it is classic Urkel, classic Urkel's family. He has a weird family member whose name you've never heard before. It's so absurd. It's Cecil. Uncle Cecil. And the crowd goes wild when he says, well, we gotta include Uncle Cecil. And they're like, oh, God, what a cut up. So I guess what we're supposed to take away from this is that the whole Urkel family is freaks.
There's a lot of Urkel family mythos to unpack in this episode. I think that's why it starts getting weirder. We get more of like what makes Urkel such a weird, strange character.
And it's not that he's a nerd, which is what they focused on a lot last time, as far as he's a science guy, he's bad with interacting with people, he wears funny clothes and big glasses. It's that he's genuinely like fucked up and bizarre somehow, that he has an aunt who draws stuff on her belly and then makes her belly button talk, and an uncle, I believe, who is Uncle Cecil, who paints landscapes with his nose during cold and flu season by spraying paint into his nostrils.
That's right. Found my new quarantine hobby right there. Gotta get on that.
I'm going to sell them on
needs,
Etsy.
Yeah, to develop a talent, and this is the perfect time. 10,000 hours. And we get perhaps the strangest throwaway detail of the whole episode, which is that Urkel's parents are...
In Russia?
In Russia?
Yes, they're in Moscow. They're in Moscow.
There's lots to unpack there.
That's not even what I thought you were going to say, because 2 seconds later, we get information
Yeah.
about the Urkel family tradition that they wait 3 months to consummate their marriage. I have so much to talk about.
And
even
Unleash.
the religious folks are like, that's, I mean, come on. That's, you know.
Oh, yeah, the religious folks get down right away.
They're like, even for us, that's way too much.
All right, David, begin unpacking if you can and still keep your brain packed into your brain pan.
I've always known that this is like a horny show. Urkel is like trying to get with Laura the whole time. He's like always hanging around. He's trying to get with her. And this just confirms like Urkel fucks.
Well, the show ends before he canonically fucks, as far as we know. We don't know for sure, but we know
But
that...
Urkel he's like a sexual being.
Oh, yeah. you know he's slinging schlong like nobody's business. Those long, tight pants, it's just down to his ankle.
He's not hiding anything. But I just, for the rest of the episode, I just, in my head, I was like, he's about to get down. He's about to.
Oh,
like,
and there's a
this
moment.
whole-
There's a specific moment that we'll get to. But the weirder part of this twosome to me is that Laura Lee, like when he says, "My family waits 3 months," she's like, "Steve," she's so scandalized, and then he jumps onto, "Oh, you talked me out of it, ha ha ha, that's the joke." But like, she is ready.
Oh, baby. We get confirmation that this, like, will they, won't they, has been happening for 15 years.
Oh my god.
So he's been, like, Pepe Le Pewing her this whole time. Like, it's working. She's ready.
But why though is my question. He's so awful.
And she's not.
Yeah.
She
You
seems
know?
great.
Yeah.
We haven't really featured her at all
She seems
in either
amazing.
of these episodes. Yeah, other than like she's real hot and she's really supportive of her fiance and really understanding. I don't there's no downside to her so far, and it's all downside for Stephen Q. Urkel.
Oh, you wait. You wait until question corner.
Okay, so one of the weird things that we get in this episode is that they are catering a number of strange things at the wedding, including badger fillets, which I guess you might call some crispy critters.
Oh, shit.
Now, gentlemen,
I did not. Wow, my mind blown right there. I did not think about that.
I have fallen down a crispy critter hole this
Oh,
week,
no.
and
That
I am
sounds
afraid
dangerous.
that I will never claw my way back out to see the light of day. And
It'll be too
no,
crispy.
I am afraid to share the knowledge that I'm about to say with you.
I just
no.
picture that you've just been eating buckets of crispy critters for a week. And
They're
you're-
available. You can find them. They're on eBay. Crispy critters, as we mentioned in the last episode, which is of course next week's episode in terms of the in-universe canon.
This
crispy-
is not a good idea.
Actual hilarious comedian, impressionist actor Jim Meskimen says that Urkel is in danger of becoming a crispy critter, and we all thought that that's supposed to be funny because it's said in a way that gains laughs and is it's pronounced in a funny way. And so we're like, okay, this is just like a funny phrase, but no. Crispy Critters was an existing breakfast cereal in the 1960s. The early 1960s, it boasted that it was the only cereal that came in the shape of animals. They marketed this by having adorable cartoon animals try to sell you this cereal where you eat adorable cartoon animals.
Please eat us.
Which makes so much sense. The mascot, because every cereal has to have a mascot, even back in 1963, was the unbelievably originally named Linus the Lion-Hearted. He is a lion who talks. It is relevant how he talks because Linus the Lionheart in the commercials, and was so popular in the commercials, spun off into his own cartoon show that aired both on ABC and then on CBS for several years.
Wow, that's great, like, integration.
Hey,
Do you know when did it get its own TV show?
it was spun off in 1964 and would stay on the air in some form until 1969.
Does that mean
Crazy.
that Family Matters is part of the Crispy Critter cinematic universe?
Well, it's gonna get a little bit more
no.
crazy
I
because
think Alex might have the answer to that.
Linus the Lionhearted was voiced by Sheldon Leonard. If that name doesn't mean anything to you, that's not a huge surprise. He was a sort of classic Hollywood character actor. He's from New York, had a very stereotypical accent, and often played the tough guy gangster. He was the horse. That was a nickname. He was not, in fact, another cartoon animal, but he was a character nicknamed Horse in Guys and Dolls with Brando and Sinatra. And I know him best as being Nick, the bartender slash bar owner from Christmas classic It's a Wonderful Life, which I watch probably every year, where he gets real sassy when Clarence and George are in the bar and saying a bunch of nonsense until he goes, "That does it! Out you two pixies go, through the door or out the window."
Classic scene.
And he's the voice of Linus the Lionhearted. Now, this is partially notable because this is after he had moved from acting to primarily producing. He had already, at this point in his career, when he's voicing Linus the Lionhearted, he has produced Make Room for Daddy, The Andy Griffith Show, Comer Pyle, The Dick Van Dyke Show, and was soon to produce I Spy.
Wow.
This guy is a fucking TV legend. And he's voicing Linus the Lionhearted on cartoons and in commercials for Crispy Critters.
I don't want to disparage this, I'm sure, fine man's career, but maybe gambling problem?
Maybe he got a little bit too method for Guys and Dolls and hit the dice a little bit hard after that.
That's what I'm thinking.
So Linus the Lionhearted, the catchphrase of the one and only cereal that comes in the shape of animals, could not keep him on the air past 1969. So Crispy Critters falls in popularity. Post is the company that's putting it out. They remove it from the shelves. Nobody cares until 1987. This time they're back, and they're not going to be duped like last time and use a stupid mascot like Linus the Lionhearted. They're ready with a new, edgy 80s mascot. He's got antennae. He's from
It's also a lion. No.
space? Maybe? It's unclear if he's an insect or an alien, and his name is Crispy.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
We're doing great.
Yeah. Oh, it gets fucking weird.
I see where this is going now.
Because, believe it or not, we're getting to an even stranger Christmas-themed One Universe situation in that Crispy was done by an impersonator doing a Jimmy Durante impression. Now, Jimmy Durante, another name you may not know, but you would absolutely recognize probably him and definitely his voice, because he narrated and sang the title song in the Rankin and Bass production of Frosty the Snowman.
Wow.
So Crispy kind of talked like this, and he told kids that it's indubitably delicious. Now, the reason that they had to get a impersonator for Jimmy Durante in 1987 was because Jimmy Durante died in 1980.
Yeah, he's been going strong for a long time at this point.
Prior to any of the kids who should be eating Crispy Critter cereal being able to consume it, this man had died, but they were like, nah, they'll know. Frosty told them all about this guy. They'll give a shit about this old classic, like, this is like one of the like paragons of 60s comedy and stand-up comedy in particular. He invented the catchphrase, "a-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha."
Oh, wow.
So, it's shocking, I know, but Crispy did not get his own TV show, despite his horrible puppet state. Nor did the other puppets that are also in the commercial, which are cute animals that are in the shape of the cereal that you eat. And they talk to you right before you eat it and try to get you to say the word indubitably correctly. These did not spin off into their own TV show.
That's like watching Bambi and being like, I could really go for some venison right now.
Yes! And so this, once again, Post had a huge flop with Crispy Critters. Those left the shelves, I believe, before the 80s were complete. Now, fast forward
Oh
to
no.
1998. Are there more Crispy Critters on the shelves? No. For basically a decade, there have not been Crispy Critters in circulation. Both of the men who were used as characters or impersonations have been long dead. Decades, in fact. And yet, the old-ass dudes writing the episode of Family Matters are like, you know what we should make a reference to that all the kids will understand who are watching this and cheering Urkel on in space? Crispy Critters. A cereal that was so awful, they removed it from shelves twice.
That makes me feel a lot better for not understanding the reference now. The kids then probably didn't understand the reference.
Literally, the Crispy Critters resurrection was the year I was born.
I thought it was an original. I thought they were trying to make an original joke, like, oh, this is alliteration. It's funny, right?
I think one or both of these
I
two
had no
writers
idea.
grew up eating Crispy Critters or having a Linus the Lionheart doll that you could pull the string on, and he said a number of funny phrases in a fucking New York gangster voice, even though his whole shtick was not being able to say the name of his own cereal in the commercials because he would be beaten to death almost with an avalanche of Crispy Critters cereal that would fly in from the side of the screen for no reason anytime he said Crispy Critters.
It's just like, oh, he said it. Rig the explosives.
The amount of effort that went into, though, this trying to bring this back is crazy. It's a cereal. Like, I don't know, was cereal just that gangbusters? They were making that much money off of it that they just kept trying to invest in a TV show? You know,
I have a
crazy.
conspiracy theory.
Okay, great. Is this Big Christmas trying to become relevant all the time?
I think that this dude who was on the Brave Little Toaster was looking for a comeback property to reinvigorate his career. He was going to make a Crispy Critter movie.
Oh, snap.
I mean, I joked last time that they're trying to sell Crispy Critters merchandise. That could be a real thing. Yeah. CBS could have still had some sort of license to do Linus the Lionhearted cartoons, and they were trying to bring him back out, and therefore gave this episode the special, important mission of referencing Crispy Critters and making all the kids go, oh boy, I hope there's an old Jewish comedian who's related to this somehow.
If my brain wasn't hurting before, it's just oozing out my ears.
I know that this is a horrible way to have spent 5 to 10 minutes of this podcast.
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon and then 6 degrees of Crispy Critter. I guess.
You don't know how much of my brain time this week was taken up with two old voices from beyond the grave speaking as cereal mascots to me.
Haunting your dreams.
It's going to be in your nightmares.
I watched commercials. The theme song to the Lionhearted cartoon show is way too long. I don't recommend it. Nor do I recommend this episode. Please, someone take it away from Badger Fillets and the Urkel tradition of waiting 3 months, because my brain is basically becoming sugar-covered post-cereal right now.
I got something for you. How about when we got this guy, he's the Donnie Darko dad from the previously on. He walks in the door and gets like a standing ovation from the studio crowd.
Goes
I couldn't figure it
wild.
out. I could not figure that out at all.
What
at
is
first
going
I
on?
thought, I don't automatically know what like Buzz Aldrin looks like. So
yeah,
my head, I'm like, is he a real astronaut? Is this Buzz Aldrin playing himself? No, like, is he like, who is this guy?
Right.
But at this point, he hasn't even been introduced because this guy is like a ripoff of Buzz Aldrin. His name is Buzz Conrad.
Right.
They couldn't fool me. I knew what they were trying to do with that.
Oh yeah. When he first showed up, I was sure oh, this is the astronaut that they've set up in a previous episode
Yes.
to pay off this whole AGF 5000 thing. And I don't believe that that is the case based on the context we get in a second.
It has to be. If it's not that, then the only other thing is like, oh, a famous person that I know.
Right, that's where I was going. Because you see that in sitcoms every once in a while.
Yeah.
You know, where
Yeah.
they come out for their intro at the door and there's just a huge applause, and I feel like a lot of times it is just somebody famous. So
Yeah, it's Kramer bursting through the door is how they treat this. But
Right.
as far as we know, this man has never appeared in this television program in the past.
I hope he hasn't. I hope this is the real answer.
Predictions. I do not think we will ever see Buzz Conrad again or Donnie Darko's dad in that role.
Wow, It's a Wonderful Life came back around to Donnie Darko, and how that's just the sad version of It's a Wonderful Life. We're doing great here.
Please, we have to move away from Christmas things because I'm on the edge, guys. I will slip at any moment.
Oh, no.
Here's my question. Once they started talking, I had what I thought was a pretty reasonable question, which is, why does Buzz Conrad look for Urkel at someone else's house?
Oh, no.
I didn't even think about that.
And secondly, why is Urkel in charge of who comes in? Because he answers the door as if he lives there, and then Buzz Conrad says, "Can I come in?" And Urkel, being the worst vampire hunter ever, is like, "Yeah, no problem. Pop on in, Buzz Aldrin / Conrad."
Mikasa Urkel Casa. Yeah, no, I did. He spends so much. Steve Urkel spends so much time at the house. That's the only house he's ever spent time in these 2 episodes. So
To give them any kind of
I
credit,
didn't even think about it at this point.
his parents are in Moscow, so it's very possible that he has literally moved into this house at this point.
Do you think he has his own house and this guy has been trying to contact him
I fucking hope
For
so.
years and years.
Yeah. We've
And
sent
Urkel's like,
mail.
I don't have the AGF 5000 anymore. I made that like 10 years ago.
We get confirmation that he's going, or this is the first time he says you're going to space, and he gives the biggest reaction I've ever seen in anything ever.
Urkel literally passes out from excitement.
It's like I don't even know how to describe what he's like breathing backwards, faint. I don't know.
He has a standing seizure.
Yeah.
He starts just full body convulsing while he's standing up, throws his arms up, and then falls backwards onto Laura Lee onto the couch.
And his eyes literally cross before he falls down.
God. I again, they play this as if it's funny just to see. I disagree, but if
Somebody help this man.
if this is not something that happened, is this a thing that Urkel does? Does he pass out when Laura Lee says yes to him when he proposes to her, like 4 to 8 to 20 episodes from now? Or is this the first time this ever happens and they were like, it would be a great way to wrap up this show is just to give Urkel another tick?
What I imagine happening is that they're on this soundstage and the director quietly walks up to Jaleel White. He's like, "That was great. Let's do one just a little bigger."
No problem, Joel Zwick, director of My Big Fat Greek Wedding. So, and of course, we're about to find out the exact circumstances under which this famous astronaut, Buzz Conrad, who we all know and cheer for all the time, the one time in his life that he has fainted. And was it when he went to space? No.
Re-entry?
Nope.
You never fainted?
One time he fainted. Why did he faint? I'm sure it's hilarious.
This is the part of the episode that really made me go down a rabbit hole this week. So he answers that the only time he's ever fainted is from watching an episode of the TV show Homeboys in Outer Space.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know about you guys, but I have so many questions.
I have a question.
Obviously, it's meant to be a joke, right? Because the laugh track kicks in like crazy right after he says that.
Yep.
So obviously they're meaning for it to be a joke, but what is it's not a joke. Like, it just there's nothing, especially with no context, that makes it funny.
So
and why is he passing out watching this TV show? You know, I was not familiar with this TV show, so I had to go and look it up.
I knew that the show existed. I don't think I ever watched it back in the day, and for that and various other reasons, I didn't include it in our Black-led sitcoms list from the first episode. And so I was recently re-reminded of it, so that was probably good, because otherwise that would not have even registered with me as a real TV show. But I don't really know much about it.
Yeah, I still don't know anything about it.
Okay.
So I did some research, guys.
Oh no.
I actually ended up watching the first episode.
I'm so sorry.
But, so I know, Alex, last week you said, not a lot of shows are making the bold creative choice to go to space.
Strong disagree.
Well, you're going to have to walk that back. that
I would
did
still
not
say not a lot, but please
all right.
disabuse me of at least one example.
So yeah, this entire run of this show actually predates this series finale of Family Matters. So Homeboys in Outer Space was a sitcom comedy, half-hour comedy that aired on UPN, which was the United Paramount Network. And it aired from August of 1996 to May of 1997. There were, I believe, 21 episodes in total.
Okay, great.
Didn't make
sounds
it past
good.
that. Yeah.
That's how you know.
There we go. But yeah, the basic premise of it is there are two main kids. First of all, it's as Alex said, it is a black sitcom. It's in primarily a black cast.
You're telling me that a show with homeboys in the title in the 90s had black people in it?
And see, this is where
the trouble begins.
Well, this is where without knowing what the show is, when you hear Buzz Conrad, this white man, say this, and then they immediately cut to Urkel.
Yeah.
Like there's some weird tension, connotation that they're creating in that moment.
Yeah, and it does not dissipate by the end of this scene. There's a moment, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but Buzz Conrad gives Urkel an urban handshake, and it is the most uncomfortable thing I've ever seen in my life. But
so yeah, this moment of the show also kind of unsettling for me too, for sure. Just the way that the laugh track kicks in, we cut to Urkel. But anyway, that's why I started to research. So it kicked in. This has to be a real show.
Yeah.
And it is. The two main characters are Tiberius Walker and Morris Clay. And they fly around space it's a flying car, basically a flying car spaceship.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Because I was like, sure, based on really nothing, that this would just be a show where like some guys stumbled onto the wrong rocket and they accidentally got sent up to a space station or onto like a 5-year mission by accident or something. But you're telling me they flew to space on a rocket car.
Well, they're already there. Like in the first minute of the show, they're already in their rocket car. They're already flying around in space.
Lost in Space Part 1, indeed.
Yeah. So yeah, I watched the first episode. I don't know, like a lot of sitcoms, the first one, it's hard to get a real feel for how the rest of it's going to be. It feels kind of like a dress rehearsal, but
you should try the last one.
Right? No, I went for the more definitely traditional route and started with the first episode just to change it up a little bit. But yeah, that's Homeboys in Outer Space. It was an actual TV show that aired for a season, and that's what they were referencing. But I still, even with that context, have no idea what in their minds makes that a joke.
So-
It doesn't make any sense.
Here's the way I took it, having known none of it. I looked up quickly, like, oh, it's a TV show. So in my head, they're throwing shade at this like other sitcom that only lasted one season, and that's not the last time they'll throw shade in this episode because these writers are catty bitches.
Sure, but like, why did he pass out watching it?
Because
The
of how
joke
bad
is
it
that
is?
he passed out at it.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's what I assumed.
Like, yeah, I mean,
But
I don't know. That's a straight. I don't know. I've never passed out because
not-
something was that bad.
I'm not saying it's a good joke.
But so, in your experience watching the first episode, was it like the worst show ever?
No, it was not the worst show ever. I mean, I think there were definitely a lot of the jokes weren't landing, and maybe they're, like I said, it's the first episode, so it feels kind of like a dress rehearsal. Maybe they're still trying to feel out everybody's characters a little bit, but it's definitely not the worst show I've ever seen. That's for sure. And yeah, I don't know. In my experience, I've just never passed out from something being so horrible.
So you didn't pass out watching this episode.
I did not pass out.
It must
Can't
have been a
confirm.
later episode that he watched. It just spontaneously knocked out everyone who watched it.
I also want to say this is probably not the first time this has happened, right? But the one of the primary characters in Homeboys in Outer Space is LaQuisha, and she is the computer on board the rocket car.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and so she comes to life through the screens there. And part of me, when I was watching this, the movie, the Disney Channel original movie Smart House, is just going to pretend.
Just gonna say Smart House.
Yeah. Because there's one point in the episode where LaQuisha, it's towards the beginning of the episode, the first time we're on the ship, where she's getting upset that they're belittling her, that she's just a computer, and she's fighting back on that. She's pushing back on that. I was like, yeah, that's Smart House. That's the movie Smart House.
For the first time, I feel better about myself for not falling into one of these terrible rabbit holes. How am I the sane one now?
If I hadn't gone down the Crispy Critters thing, I might have been the most upset about the next thing that is revealed in this episode, which is that Urkel did not build the prototype of his anti-gravity field generator. The ISF built the prototype of Urkel's invention. So he...
Oh, you mean ISP?
Whatever, don't care. I'm so upset.
We got to get it right.
We don't. We will not be sued. They're not real. The ISP built this prototype, so it was not Urkel cobbling it together from household items. So that means that in fiction, it is not a comedy dryer dial that is on this machine. That is just what they think space machines look like, and that would look good.
Well,
And I'm so upset.
Or I mean, or that's all they had lying around was just spare washing machine parts.
At fake NASA, all they could cobble together was a washing machine.
But like I said last week, I don't feel like we're ever going to see any progression in terms of them actually testing it out or vetting it or anything.
And that's the worst part, is that he straight up says, we're going to test it in space.
Yeah.
So he invites Steve to come to fake NASA to train for 6 months, but not test the machine.
Well, again, as I brought up last time, giving them literally any credit, Earth, well known for its gravity. So it's very difficult to test a gravity field generator on a gravitational object.
Yeah, what does Urkel say the figure is? You think it's $46 million, I think he says, something like that.
Oh, later, to how much it takes to build.
Yeah. Just to go on that mission to test it.
$48 billion to build the AGF 5000.
No whammy, no whammy, no whammy.
Okay, so Urkel is going to go to Houston, which means that he's going to miss his wedding date where they have reserved all of that deep fried animal. And Laura Lee is like Yeah, that's fine.
Wait, this line is so good. This
Please.
is
Oh yeah, it's great.
verbatim. Look, we'll just postpone the wedding until after you return from space.
God.
I do wish I had that problem though. I mean, what a great problem to have, you know? You just got to go to space for a hot second, so.
Well,
And such a supportive fiance too.
yeah, she's the best. She's awesome.
Oh, she's amazing. I mean, and it is funny though to, you know, it's like just an everyday occurrence. Like it can kind of like we got last week, like it's just an everyday thing that happens. It's fine. We'll just postpone.
And
No worries.
she's so supportive that she's allowing him to do what they pretend in universe is a awful thing. To me, sounds awesome, which is to have a cheese sculpture of them at the wedding.
Velveeta cheese nonetheless.
I would love a realistic cheese sculpture of myself at any event that I'm throwing. But we won't get it. We'll never see these couple get married.
The main takeaway so far for me from this episode is Laura Lee is amazing,
Yeah.
and Steve does not deserve her.
Yeah, I look forward to the day where we'll actually learn what her character is like.
Yeah,
Beyond,
no, definitely.
like,
Of all
just,
of
like,
of
cool.
all of them, she's definitely the one that I'm. Well, we don't know a lot about her yet, you know, so I'm definitely
I mean, if I have to pick
hoping that we find out more.
If I have to pick an MVP, no drawbacks whatsoever, just shows good judgment from beginning to end, it's 3J. Because that boy likes cake, and that's all we know about him, and good for him.
I mean, yeah, when in doubt, if the cake is, you know, what does he say? Like the cake's in the kitchen and I'm in the living room.
Bye.
Yeah,
Later.
and we know this because immediately after Laura Lee says, "Oh yeah, we'll postpone the wedding," we get hard cut to 6 months later.
I was
Oh right,
fucking shook.
that's right. Yeah. We just blow right by a huge chunk of time.
Like a minute
not believe
after, like it's so and we also, it appears that we skip all of Eddie's police training.
At least
Oh,
the graduation,
shit.
because it cuts to the party back at home when there's a sign that says congratulations Eddie, whatever, and has a seal, probably a fake one because the real one's copyrighted or something, for the
I have the answer.
Chicago Police Department. So that is where we're placing our show, unless I am totally mistaken somehow.
Yeah, already a few things I think we talked about last week that we were hoping to see get fleshed out a bit that maybe we're not going to.
Yeah, don't have any hopes for this show. That's my lesson, is have no expectations.
Well, we get a weird piece of trivia, which is that
I have the answer.
Eddie, whose dad calls him Edward, is going to become a third generation officer, which means that
Right, yeah.
Carl's dad was a cop like back in the day when it was not super cool to be a black cop. And I can't imagine if they ever deal with how harrowing that existence must have been.
Is it true that this is a sequel to the Watchmen TV series?
It is. This is a direct, it's actually in the middle. You know, they skip over some stuff in the Watchmen show. Some important, I think, details that Ozymandias was not the most important man in space.
Oh no. So when 3J leaves to go grab a slice of that cake,
Hell yeah.
we get our third instance of weird shit that Urkel eats because Laura Lee says that he likes this kind of cake, except he puts a piece of Spam on top of it.
Slice of Spam on chocolate marble cake.
I go further. I like to just put a piece of cake on top of Spam.
I want to know everything about this character.
I don't ever
And
want to see him again.
I don't think we'll ever fully solve the riddle of who is Stephen Q. Urkel, but I'm so enticed and I want to know all about him.
Predictions. I think we never find out what the Q stands for.
Oh,
Is that
that's
possible?
good.
I think so.
So here we get the dad almost forgot to give his son a bulletproof vest before his first day on the job, which is really good cop and parenting.
Come on.
So he runs up and we get the bulletproof vest scene that we have already seen in the weird future, which is the flashback in the next episode. And we see the mom like oversee this exchange and go, wait, cops get shot at? I don't know if I agree with this.
And this is the most like harrowing scene of like the whole episode.
Yeah, because it was when Eddie was a 5-year-old, his dad was shot and almost killed and also spilled mustard on his bulletproof vest because we can't ever have anything nice here.
We can't have nice things.
And of course, they have like this deep moment and it has to be ruined by Steve showing up and everyone's saying how good he looks because he's just wearing like good clothes. He's wearing a jumpsuit, and so that's why he looks good. It's because he's not wearing stupid ass Steve shit. And Laura Lee is desperate to fuck Urkel right now on the couch that we see in every episode. And classic dad, he doesn't want them to fuck in front of him. What a hilarious hijinks.
What a prude.
We, of course, get a ooh when they kiss, though. Once they kiss outside, and Urkel, again, ruins just any nice moment by wiping down the bench to be considerate, and this is very funny, if you ask the laugh track, because they giggle quite a bit.
This was such a weird transition, too, because they walk through the back door and it's like a continuous shot like going through the door with them, and they get to this like tiny ass fake like backyard set, and it was just like so cinematic for a show that has no reason to be.
God, yeah. They added a 4th camera to their 3-camera setup and you're so impressed all of a sudden. They're like, man, they're really pulling out all the stops for this season finale.
Yeah, I mean the music swell at the end of that. You know, I think they pan up too. Like it was a very, like they hung on that moment for quite a while. It was, I think, the most it was, I don't know, it was the moment they embraced, I felt like, the most.
Now,
or like it's the moment that they decided to actually give proper time to. You know, because everything's been so rushed, I feel like these
like
last
space?
2 episodes. Yeah, with the whole space bit and all that, and Carl's very worried about Steve in space, and he heard about that satellite hitting the Explorer.
We also got another super horn dog, Steve Urkel, because they kiss, and he says, "Houston, we have ignition." So,
yeah.
Why did I not predict that there was going to be a play on that somewhere in this episode?
Some kind of boner joke. The Houston thing specifically.
The Houston, yeah. Why did I not? Of course there is. It's a sitcom.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to do that.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
a good call.
The other thing that, again, I don't know if this is a throwaway line or a reference to something specific, but Urkel says, "Can you believe that I'm going to space?" when not that long ago I couldn't get a job at Taco Bell. Do we see Urkel apply for a job at Taco fucking Bell and get necked?
He's just like squirting all the like meat paste all over, like slipping on cheese.
Yeah, did he get fired because he's trying to invent a new thing where he uses squirrel hide as the tortilla on something?
That's deep motivation right there. You know, getting rejected and.
I'll show Taco Bell.
I want to see the Steve applies for a Taco Bell job episode so bad, but I don't think we're ever going to get it. And I'm so upset about that and so many other things about this episode, including that Laura Lee, really with no basis in reality, is like, "Steve, be safe. You have to come back to me." And he's like, "Yeah, it's fine. I'm in training for 6 months to go to space. It's what could go wrong?" She's like,
June bugs.
something.
There's too many June bugs, he says.
God, yeah, they take shots at Houston, which, fair.
So I think the June bugs, you got to watch out for 'em. Maybe
Yeah.
they get them.
Yeah. God forbid a June bug or anything else hit the ignition switch too early and then they blast off, not in the correct launching sequence.
Which that part I don't get, because first of all, when he's talking to Buzz Conrad, right? He's promised that he gets to ride shotgun. That's the one thing that he actually gets permission to do. I believe in all my years of calling shotgun, and especially in the days of my youth before I had my own vehicular
manslaughter
way to get around, that that's the seat up front that's next to the driver, I think.
Typically, it is not the only seat in the vehicle that is behind other seats.
It is, yeah. And like we talked about last week, it's, I have not seen any space shuttles that come with it'd be like they make a car commercial, but for space shuttles, and it's like, second row seating. I just have not seen that. So anyway, he doesn't get shotgun.
No, even though that's the one promise that spaceman Buzz Conrad makes to him.
Yeah, but somehow he's positioned right next to the button that launches the shuttle.
He is the only one with direct access to it, it seems, which we'll get to that in a second. Unfortunately, we have to sit through the commissioner.
Oh, right.
Here's another question.
I have a question.
Will we ever see Commissioner Geiss and or his wife ever again in this entire show?
I think so, and I'm gonna make a prediction.
Predictions.
That they look like bad people. They come off as very bad people every time that they're on screen.
This episode, it is the sitcom thing in all capitals that they do here, where it's just like, hey, don't you fucking hate your wife? That's the joke of this whole scene, is that like men and women who marry each other hate each other, and it's hilarious. And I don't agree with any of it.
My wife is listening.
And I'm just gonna say, for context, they are a white couple. The commissioner is a white man.
Yes.
And it seems like he's somehow able to just get away with being a horrible person. Somehow,
a man with tremendous power and the police to back him up at any point,
right,
is able to get away with anything except for with his wife. Oh, it's funny. So the commissioner and Carl, they're both families. The commissioner and his wife and Carl and Harriet are having dinner, and the commissioner and Carl leave. Commissioner doing everything to find an excuse to get out of the room, and it turns out that Carl neither drinks nor smokes, which brings up the question, what do he do?
Well, he enjoys his Haagen-Dazs. I think it was Haagen-Dazs.
Yeah. He has ice cream later.
Which he says, oh, half the fat, half the calories, and out loud I said, I can have another one. And then he said, I can have another one.
The line.
No!
It's happening.
But before that, a very predictable joke, we get another joke that is basically inscrutable, which is that Blanche, the commissioner's wife, who, again, I object to there being any old white lady on TV named Blanche after, like, 1980 whatever. But here we are. And Blanche is the one who actually sets up the whole let's get Eddie off of the beat bit, but not before she throws some serious shade, I think.
Again, the shade with these writers. She's talking about how she's got two sons. One of them is a cop and the other one is not a cop. And I think Harriet asks like what the other one does. And Blanche says he's the lead fork in the touring company of the musical Beauty and the Beast. And Harriet's like, oh, you must be so proud. And Blanche very sarcastically goes, Yes.
And this might be the biggest laugh of the whole episode.
It was giant, and they are such catty bitches, and my dinner theater ass felt personally attacked. I have made good money serving people forks and singing for them. And how dare you?
I did think
Everyone should be so lucky, to be a touring fork.
well, so there is an element of it's like saying college women's basketball where every word is like another step down in prestige, right? So this is they're saying he's in the touring musical and he's a fork. He's not even an important character. And I guess maybe there's a Beauty and the Beast.
Is a step up, a spork is.
Oh yeah, well that's the tip top for sure.
And the biggest one is cop versus musical theater performer.
So that's the other thing is it seems like the joke is she's ashamed of her son for being a homosexual. Am I reading too much into this? Because that was a definite vibe that I got off of this moment.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Like one son is a manly man and the other one is a fork.
This is the most progressive show of all time.
Thank you, 1998.
No, I mean, all of this is great though. And I think it's great that we're watching it and thinking of all these things. I think it shows how unwell shows age in a lot of ways, definitely.
Because this seems like, if I had to guess, I would think, okay, it's another show of this vein, but it's a middle-class, black family-centered sitcom of the entire 90s, so they probably got better and better, but I would have guessed this is a pretty progressive show. But they are just, like, throwing them right down the middle at the middle of America to just get some easy hits.
Well, and it's a network show, and certainly at the time, right? They were not going to sway as much from that, and even now, even now, network television I feel like struggles with that. So,
no, well, I mean, certainly not something as good as like The Big Bang Theory. They would never do anything weird and questionable surrounding sex.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
That is a masterpiece.
Speaking of masterpieces of science, we get a TV anchorman who I didn't know was going to be in this episode. That's exciting. I liked him last time. And
he feels very like he seemed like, has he ever covered news before? He seems like he's like, I'm talking about in terms of the fiction of it. It seems like he just is it's like his first day on the job there, and he's
in every
shitting his
instance
pants.
he is just being given the news as it's happening. Even this, which is a pre-planned launch, he is just seems to be like somebody is in his ear telling him a second before he says it the next word.
It's like they gave the Boom Goes the Dynamite guy the coverage of a space launch.
So we cut to the shuttle, which is, again, they do a pretty smart job of transitioning between space via the news a couple times in this episode and the previous episode that we watched. And of course, what did I think was going to happen with the launch sequence but some top-notch Batman on the side of the building, we turned the camera sideways acting. It's incredible.
We've come so far.
Have we, though?
Since the late 60s Batman show and the late 90s Family Matters, nothing has changed.
But so this whole thing is very funny because Myra has stowed away inside of the shuttle, and God forbid I had not seen the previous episode that we watched already, because there is no explanation for who this crazy lady is, why she is not in a space jumpsuit that is different from every other space jumpsuit we see in this or the next episode, and why she has to be hauled away by the extra equivalent of Cloris Leachman leaning out of her window to talk to Batman. And also, Urkel waves to the people of Earth into the camera, and it's very funny because Urkel, he just looks so funny, you know? what a guy.
And I think it's also, you know, that it's funny when you have to say that it's funny, you know. Definitely.
It felt funny. I'm still laughing. You just can't. I'm being professional, holding it in right now.
Laughing on the inside.
But then we get a lot more stock footage of the
Yes, a
space shuttle
lot
launch
more.
for a really long time.
We see the interior of Mission Control. We see the shuttle being like fueled and checked, and then lifting off, as we said, by Urkel. Is he sneeze and hit the ignition button?
Yeah.
What a nerd.
That's what does it. Yeah.
And my question is, like, it shows you like an establishing shot of like the button that he presses to launch the shuttle.
Ugh.
It looks like it's on the AGF 5000,
right? Yeah, no, initially I thought when his hand was going down, that's what he was going to trigger to turn on was the artificial gravity machine. I got it right this week. Not anti-gravity. But
That would make sense if you were trying to lift off and you had an anti-gravity machine. What a useful thing. That's not what they have. Now, here's the part that really fucks me off about this whole thing. Which is, in the last episode,
Yes.
we assume Urkel is a student and is a ride-along into space. So that's why he makes all these hilarious Urkel mistakes and gets into wacky situations.
Oh no.
In this episode, we know for a fucking fact that he spent 6 months training to go to space in Houston.
He trained for this.
He, in fact, trained so awfully with all of the other people that he was with that he made other potential astronauts flunk out rather than be in his astronaut class because he puts spam on chocolate cake.
That's the thing. Like, I think that is what I'm realizing his defining characteristic is. He's just annoying.
Yeah.
Like,
For
that's his entire, like, yeah, he's quirky and stuff, but he's just an purposefully annoying character.
Yeah. That's his whole thing. But also a bumbler. Like, he can't get anything right throughout this whole thing, including, okay, I have all of this training. Oops, I accidentally set off the space shuttle before it's supposed to launch, and then Jim Meskimen, the best actor in this whole show, goes, 3, 2, 1, go! And then
Well,
Urkel,
like last week, though, I will say that, you know, somebody should have, made sure that he was tethered, and
yes,
somebody should have checked that seating chart. I'm not putting the new kid, in charge of launching the shuttle into space, or he wasn't put in charge, but he's sitting right next to the button that does that.
it's insane. The whole thing's insane.
Again, maybe this is a custom space shuttle where maybe there's a button in the front row, but there's also a button in the back row too. You know, maybe it's one of those.
It's like a test driving car where
Yeah,
the instructor has a pedal too.
The thing that really confused me immediately about the ending of this scene before we cut to commercial is that
We don't have sponsors yet, so.
no, not us cutting
no
to
commercial.
commercial before the episode of television that we watch cut to commercial. If you're some kind of primitive who does not pay for Hulu.
I feel like by the end of this, I will pay for the no ads just because this
To
is
have a
going to be
break.
my life.
No, Urkel, as they're lifting off, as you would expect, has a crazy reaction to it. He has a very similar like seizure, like face as they're lifting off. Laugh track, nothing. I don't get it. I don't understand what this show thinks is funny and what they want us to think is funny. I don't get it.
You just don't understand.
I don't.
This is going all over your head, Alex. You just don't get comedy.
Well, the good thing
it's
is
too highbrow for you.
the good thing is that we come back from commercial and it's Drama City because we're back on Earth. We're back to cops.
Is this when Eddie comes back from his first day?
That's
Is that-
correct.
Yeah.
Now, I want to question that time frame because is he coming back from his first day? Like, did he even? Okay, so we've talked about this. He was supposed to be walking a beat, but then Harriet got him transferred to be a meter maid. And he comes in super pissed that he has to be a meter maid. But was he ever walking the beat?
Oh, no.
Doesn't
It
sound
seems like
it.
never.
Yeah, it sounds like he was transferred before he was ever doing that. I also think it's great. He in the last episode, it feels so weird to say that
I
when
know.
we're going
We're never going to get
backwards.
better at that.
In the literal last episode of Family Matters, I guess, when he's doing the parking duty, he gets upset when a woman calls him a meter maid. So I think it's interesting that he calls himself a meter maid in this episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously demeaning, and how hilarious that he has to slap parking tickets on Yugos. Who has ever heard of such a thing?
Did everyone Google it at the same time?
Oh, no, I knew what a Yugo is. And
No, I knew what it
like.
was. Yeah.
I don't understand any reference from this show.
If I'm remembering correctly, doesn't Michael Cera drive a Yugo in Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist? Does this ring a bell to anyone? Am I the only crazy person with this in their brain?
That sounds right, but I'm absolutely not going to be rewatching that movie to find out.
No, it is in fact bad. Just so we're all clear. Yep,
I will not be rewatching.
that is a fact that I remembered from the one time that I saw that film. I think in theaters. I'm gonna leave here and kill myself. I don't. You guys continue this podcast and bring it home for Daddy.
Question corner.
I have a question.
What are theaters?
Okay, this is a valid question in 2020/the future.
So what happens is Eddie gives his thesis for wanting to be a cop. He says he wants to be a cop to protect people from criminals. And what I'm saying is I want people to be protected from the cops.
Yeah.
Hot take.
No, this is where we already are starting, I think, to get into that conversation. And I'm curious if we ever see a moment, does Eddie ever witness a moment where somebody he really cares about is in danger?
I don't know. It is interesting. I still do believe that at some point we're gonna get like an emo Eddie phase, and he's gonna be a rebellious kid, and then that's gonna be like the big turnaround is him following in his father's footsteps. But we're so far from that because right now we're literally back in space already. Because
this CGI is even worse than the last one.
Well, hold on, because we're not even to CGI yet. They're just doing wire work for Steve, which he didn't get last episode. So I'm so excited that he gets to fly and say that it's Neato with wow sauce, which... Did I do that catchphrase? I fucking don't know. Everything he says is so crazy, I don't know if it's real crazy or comedy crazy.
I didn't even bother to write that one down. I didn't again, I had to watch it with subtitles on the second watch to even understand what he said.
I will say if Taco Bell really wanted to do themselves a marketing push, they would have made some wow sauce.
Get the Neato taco with new Urkel approved wow sauce.
Yeah.
After he just shit on their company.
Jesus. And maybe in the taco, we don't know. Because another fun fact you may have seen in your subtitles situation is that chlorine chafes Urkel's nipples.
Okay, you were on the swim team
for a long time.
Have you? Is that how you get nipple chafing? Is that what does it?
I swam for so many hours of my life, and I've never seen anyone's nipples chafe in any way at all. I don't know that it's possible.
You know what it probably is? He's wearing those goddamn suspenders all the time.
Oh, God. That, honestly, we will probably see Urkel. Predictions! We will see Urkel in a bathing suit with suspenders at some point.
Yes, I love it.
But we do get some CGI here, which Oh boy. How could I have guessed that these tennis balls that are floating in midair are CGI when they're not all spherical? They are different shapes.
Oh, I did not catch that.
It's not just like they're at different depths, so they're different sizes. Like, they are distorted in ways that a lack of gravity cannot account for.
Maybe his machine is. We know it works a little too well. Maybe it's like distorting the particles in these
Jesus.
tennis balls.
Well, it better work since they. Otherwise, it would have been $48 billion of your taxpayer money that would go right down the toy.
Right. I had to play that phrase back a few times in my head to even realize he was talking about a toilet.
A toilet, yeah.
My problem is not what he's talking about. My problem is who he's talking to.
Uh-huh. Two professional spacemans.
Right before this, Mitch, the astronaut, says, "Why don't you go say hello to all the people?"
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, he floats to the back of the spaceship and he like waves and talks. He gives out Laura's phone number into this like
Oh, right.
weird like I'm assuming it's broadcasting to the news station that we can never see it on.
Yeah.
But then for this weird exposition of like to remind the audience of like what is going to happen with the AGF 5000, he is looking straight to camera where there is no camera.
Right. Not the in-universe camera that we've established that is broadcasting to the millions of people watching at home.
No, he's talking like to the audience of the television show, not the audience of the fictional universe.
Wait, so were you trying to say that this was a real shuttle launch? Like this happened in real time?
I'm saying they brought the studio audience with them to outer space.
Guys, we talked about this last time. The fuel economy of these things is very low.
Well, it was the 90s, and actually I have no idea what fuel prices were.
Well, it is the 90s because they use the phrase "you are the man" as if it is the hot new thing several times in this episode.
So then he finishes his 2-minute exposition, and then he tests for the first time he tests the AGF 5000,
which could create a black hole. It just could collapse. The space it could explode. So he turns it on, and you're the man, Urkel. Congratulations. All the fake tennis balls fall down, and the satellite starts coming toward them. But the problem with real space is that the Earth is just surrounded in this halo of junk. There's all these things that have broken apart, all of these satellites over the years, stuff from missions that they just get left out there. Not all of it comes back into the atmosphere and burns up. So, if this were real and somehow a new gravitational force just sprang into being, so many screws would be just flying at this shuttle at the same time. Absolutely shred it. The end of Urkel. The end of fun forever.
The end of the show.
And yet that is not how it happens. They instead celebrate with a tube of meatloaf paste as if this mission is outfitted like to last for weeks. I don't understand what the scope of this is supposed to be.
Well, also the turnaround time on analyzing the data, it's like in real time. We've analyzed the data already. It's all good to go, tip top shape.
Which seems crazy because this was all based on formulas and data up to this point. So what? I don't understand this show and what they think is cool.
So it does start pulling the satellite toward the ship, and Urkel goes back to the second non-camera, and he ends the show with, "I hope this baby has airbags."
It's a good joke. It's a good joke. Top notch.
But the other thing is that, like, right before that, Mission Control tells them that they have noticed that the satellite is going to hit them soon, and that they've been tracking its movement, which started as soon as the machine to create artificial gravity was turned on, presumably like minutes and minutes prior to this, that they were just like, we'll see what happens.
I mean, that's what they do in the next episode. They're just listening the whole time, and then they just make the decision after everyone else already makes a decision.
Well, we find out so much about what happens next time immediately, as if we needed a reminder, because there is what I cannot believe. I know that this happens in sitcoms. I know it does, but like the laugh track last time, I was so taken aback by the next time on.
I thought we got a lot in the previously on, but we got just as much in the next time on.
We get the whole thing.
It's like, don't even bother to watch the series finale. Here it is, right here.
I wish I had known. We find out, first of all, they think, once again, they are committing to this master alarm sign.
I wrote it down.
Master alarm!
We need to prepare the people to be alarmed at the master alarm next time.
And they have just some lines that are scattered to show how serious these things are. Like, I'm about to blow chunks. And then we see a piece of Carl and Harriet's argument where it ends with Harriet saying, if he's walking his beat, you're going to be walking too, but without the punchline from the episode, which makes that comment make any sense.
What makes even less sense is the upbeat jazz that they play over this argument.
It's just the closing credits music that they don't bother to change at all, despite this very serious thing where we then see a fucking shootout. We see guns going off between one of our most beloved characters from the series and White Robber Guy number 1. And it's just go beep boop down.
What wacky hijinks? A police shootout.
Now, of course, there should be that kind of bass line under every possible utterance of the phrase, "Holy macanoli!"
This is if it's not a real catchphrase, it's a call forward to make it a catchphrase by the last episode.
Well, it does seem like they have been like, you guys, we got it. We finally found it. This is the perfect word. We can't just use it once. We need a next time on
9 years
just to justify holy macanoli. Which is kind of how he says it now that I'm like thinking. He says it even weird by Urkel standards. And also, we found out in the text chain this week that all three of us had spelled macanoli in our notes totally differently.
Only one can be correct.
Bad news for everyone. The subtitles is a fourth way of spelling it.
Fuck off.
Well, I guess that's the correct way then. Way to burst our bubble.
Because I spelled it as like ma cannoli, like the mixing the cannoli food with just like mac, and everybody else spelled it other ways.
Yeah, I don't think there's a right answer.
I'm just really hungry, and it makes me think of macaroni, and that is what I want. I'm
macaroni. Just gonna change it to holy macaroni. And we also see that he successfully gets the satellite off the ship.
Yeah, it's so strange that they just are like, we're going to remove all tension, but then set up this other thing where, despite this episode clearly showing that he has extensive astronaut training, he forgot to attach his tether. It's not just that he's an amateur. He's just a fucking asshole.
Did I mention yet how much I'd really hate that they just didn't give him a tether? Did I mention that yet?
I think we talked about that a little bit, yeah.
I think, and this is like the series finale is coming up, and they've just revealed half of the plot of the episode, and
as
I think any good tease is the opposite of what they did. It's like, let us show you a bunch of stuff that doesn't ever pay off.
Well, what's even more astounding is keep in mind that for the actual finale, which came a week after this episode premiered, they replayed this episode immediately before. They filled a full hour with Family Matters, the grand finale. So this next time on was potentially like 0 seconds before, bam, last time on Family Matters.
It would have been great if they had done like a live, as you know, now when some big shows go off the air, they do a live
Special
viewing party
episode
with the cast,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it would have been fun to see that with this one. Just, I don't know, is everybody as confused as we are as to, instead of ending it, really most of it in the Winslow household were just in space most of the time.
Fun facts is before we part ways with this episode. Astronaut Mitch is an actor named Matt McKenzie. He's the white astronaut and is a prolific actor and specifically voice actor, still working today. He was in a Final Fantasy video game and movie in the same year, which is pretty impressive. Hard to do.
That's not that hard. I've done it.
Reprised, okay. Reprised his role of Auron from Final Fantasy X in the Kingdom Hearts series as well, and was one of the agents in the Animatrix. So congratulations to Astronaut Mitch.
I don't know what segment this belongs in. I think it's the losing my mind segment.
Okay.
My wife and I, our quarantine watch was Sopranos, so we finished that, and then we moved on to like it's one of its spiritual successors, and one of the writers created Mad Men. So we were watching Mad Men, and Don goes to the country club, and he starts talking to this guy, and he looks super
Don Draper,
familiar.
the biggest piece of shit
he's so
ever
likable
been on
and charming.
television.
And this guy, he's named Crab, he's talking to looks so familiar. And I'm watching it on the IMDb streaming app. So when you pause it at the bottom of the screen, it shows you all of the actors, and it has their headshots and their character name.
All right.
And
yeah.
I look, and I recognize Crab is this fucking Mitch astronaut, and I can't escape this goddamn show even if I wanted to!
Wait, you saw this episode of Mad Men after you watched this episode of Urkel Goes to Space?
Yes, and I want to die.
Oh my God. The one kind of surprising, I was not prepared for this. I was really hit in like a nostalgia bone I didn't know I had when I heard the trill at the end that showed the vanity card for Miller Boyett Productions. And I had to look it up because it just is because Thomas L. Miller produced everything that's ever existed in the 90s, Step by Step and Full House, Two of a Kind, and as far back as Happy Days and Joni Loves Chachi. So this guy has been around, and actually I was clicking around, he died this year in April 5th at 79 years old. Thomas L. Miller died of complications of heart disease. His last IMDb credit is for Fuller House, because he helped guide the original Full House. So he gets an executive producer credit on Fuller House, the final season of which is airing on Netflix this year, which is just what a
legend.
What a career. Now, he never voiced a cartoon lion who was also the mascot for a cereal brand, but not everybody can.
Can only hope to get to that or a touring fork,
You're going to hurt David's feelings now.
Sorry.
I'm going to put on a fork costume and just like walk around my house singing Be Our Guest.
This is the, remember the good old days of Vine? This is the...
Oh, Vine got me through a lot of days of quarantine looking up old Vine compilations. I gotta be honest. It's good for the insomnias.
The one where the guy is just singing.
And it will always be better than TikTok in my
For sure,
opinion, but
because it's not pilfering all of your data and then publishing it everywhere on the internet.
yeah, exactly.
The guy who
Wait, what?
is singing,
What was that?
Don't worry about it.
the TikTok of the guy singing, "You better watch out, you better watch out, you better watch out, you better watch out." And I'm just envisioning David Kenny in a fort costume, just kicking around his house, either singing "Be Our Guest" or just going
I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm still salty. Because we did Beauty and the Beast in high school, and
we didn't all do Beauty and the Beast in high school, John.
Yeah.
No, I did Beauty and the Beast in high school, and I really wanted to play Lumiere. Thought I nailed that audition. Didn't get the part.
I did consider fudging my graduation records so that I would have failed and had to come back and repeat things just so that I could be Gaston in that musical. I considered it in college, but
That would have been amazing.
was unable.
I know I would have been LeFou and it would have just pissed me off. But the most
You would have been so
most-
good though. That's the
Shut the
annoying
fuck
thing.
up. The most frustrating thing is that Alex and I graduated the year before John did, and our big musical was Seussical.
Yeah. By the way, fuck Seussical the musical forever and all time. It's awful. The experience was awful. I was a monkey that didn't exist in the script.
No, they're in there.
There's 3 of them.
Brothers.
There's explicitly 3 of them, and there were like 7 of us.
Yes, that's.
And I was the literal. They gave us numbers all the way down, and I was number 7.
Oh well, at least you had a job. You know, at least you were with the touring company. No, it's a huge bummer. Huge bummer what COVID has done to the theater community. They've been very hard hit. So
The good news is that at any point, any of us might die and not have to watch the next episode, episode 213, season 9, episode 20 of Family Matters, coming at you in a week or immediately. Time has no meaning, especially because we're recording these well ahead of time. It's so confusing, and we shouldn't have done this.
I don't know what month it is.
So thanks to you for listening, and I'm sorry, and we will see you next time. And if you're watching Christmas movies, you pay attention to who those people are that are doing the voices, because they're little cartoon animals that you can eat if you look it up on the internet, and you can find those boxes and you put them in your mouth and you like it.
And you better watch out. You better watch out. You better watch out. You better watch out.